Alrighty, it is time for another tier list. Kaiju maniacs, kaiju killers. There is a new Godzilla movie coming out, a Japanese Godzilla movie coming out, no less, Godzilla -1. So I thought, since it'll be, a decent break between the next Godzilla film, Godzilla Cross Kong, the New World Order. I forget what it's called right now, actually. I thought now would be the time, because I just saw Godzilla -1. So, let's just get to it. We have
Godlike.
Near perfect. Awesome. So, okay. Yeah, I'll watch, but I'd rather not. No, and no. So I think that about sums up my feelings of the spectrum of Godzilla kaiju content. This will be ranking all of the films. Now, these are theatrically released films, right? So I'm not doing animes. I'm not like TV animes. I'm not doing any cartoons. I'm not doing Godzilla appearances in Ultraman or Zone Fighter or whatever the hell. Just doing the mainline Godzilla movies and the MonsterVerse ones as well. And we're starting off with the big one, the original Godzilla, Gojira. I'm doing Gojira here. I'm not doing Godzilla King of the Monsters, even though that was like the version I watched for quite a long time, actually. But not even too long ago, 4 or 5 years ago, I rewatched it on, I think it was a Criterion Collection, I forget. And I was just surprised at how well it still holds up. A lot of Godzilla fans still say this, that the original is can't be beat. I don't know if I'd put it at godlike right now. It is the first and established so many. You know what? Let's not front. I would say that going back to it, there's very few thrills when compared to much later entries, but that's not exactly fair. You have to put yourself in the mindset of this is the first one. There was an established way to do a kaiju movie quite yet, at least in the Japanese style. So here, the black and white cinematography, the way Godzilla is shot, and he looks quite scary. It's still a weird Godzilla design when I look at it. I don't have a lot of nostalgia for it compared to the Heisei 80s and 90s Godzilla, which I have a ton for, obviously. But it established all the character tropes, the scientist, the dashing hero, the lady that just kind of stands there. Considering 1954, it's a watershed moment for cinema. I don't know how many big auteurs have cited Gojira rather, as a huge influence on them. So I think godlike, no one's going to take issue with that, least of all me. Next up, we have Godzilla Raids fucking move. Oh my god, it screwed everything up. Fuck you, Tierbaker. Now I have 3 of them in here. Okay, well, we'll just have to do it. I can barely see the poster. I think this is Godzilla vs. Kong. Yeah, it is. But this is Godzilla Raids Again. This is the follow-up from less than a year, 6 months. It's not great. I'm going to be honest. It is not great. I'd just put it maybe on Soke right now. I do like Anguirus. Anguirus is up there, one of my favorite kaiju. Maybe in the top 10 type thing. I just think he's neat. Rolls up into a ball and such, but the movie is way lamer than the original Gojira. It's not as scary. It's done very quickly. There's not much reason for Godzilla to have even returned. But again, we're only in the first sequel of 30 plus, so you can't be too harsh on it again. But is nowhere near as memorable or as landmark of a film as the original Gojira is. After that, I believe Godzilla vs. Kong came after that, and after that followed Mothra. Godzilla vs. Kong, very important. I'm going to put it near perfect. For kaiju silliness, it's up there. If you're a big King Kong fan and seeing him be a guy in a suit is really trippy. And of course, we wouldn't have Godzilla versus... The versus series might not... The versus trope of anything fighting anything might not have even... Well, there's the Frankenstein and Universal Monster movies, but this was way later. This is what, in the 60s, early 60s? And those movies are in the 30s, so there's like a 30-year gap there, or at least 20, maybe in the 40s, I forget. Ask James Rolfe, he'll know that shit. Anyway, I think this established a lot of things in the versus genre, especially with there being not a clear winner. But the last fight, the main fight of Godzilla vs. Kong is just so entertaining. If you like the rubber suits, you get more than your fill in there. So that's always near perfect. You know what? Maybe it's not near perfect. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just awesome because the start of it is pretty wonky. It's not like the most interesting thing in the world, but I think the fight in the third act is more than enough to make it awesome. Godzilla versus Mothra or The Thing or whatever. All these movies have multiple titles. I think that might be another awesome. Mothra is still such a well-established, beautiful character, gay icon, Mothra, the Lady Gaga of kaiju. I feel comfortable with this one because I think there's better Mothra movies, in all honesty. So let's leave her there for now. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah versus Ghidorah. Again, multiple names. I don't care much for Showa era King Ghidorah. He's just kind of a chump. He's just always controlled. Doesn't look that cool. I mean, it's the first appearance, but I think this is more of a Soke film. It's not as entertaining as, say, the next one in the chronological order that we're going in. I think I think that's fine. I have more to say about Invasion of the Astro Monster, which is such a weird microcosm of Godzilla film in that it's like one of the very few ones, I think maybe the only one that like almost entirely takes place in space. It's just wild like that. Since in the 60s, space was kind of a big deal. I don't really remember why, but space was kind of a big deal. And just seeing little spacemen in their spacesuits, having the weird English character speak English and everyone speak Japanese to him and everyone understanding each other perfectly, it just helped establish what Tekken would do decades and decades later in its story mode and cutscenes. But Invasion of the Astro Monster is pretty fun. Some other kaiju in there too. It has been a while since I've seen this one, but I remember liking this one quite a bit more. So I'm gonna put that in awesome for now. Again, if this took place on Earth, it's not much different from this at that point, and there might be more equal, but I think the space setting gives it some extra flair. Next up, we have Godzilla versus Ebirah. Now, this one is automatically awesome to me, mostly because of the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode on it. I have big fondness for that. Also, the trivia that this was originally supposed to be a King Kong film, and they weren't able to retain the rights or acquire them again. So Godzilla was swapped in for King Kong, and you can see that in the movie. It's really weird. He gets awakened by electricity, and I know that seems weird if you're not familiar with King Kong in Toho's universe, but King Kong is powered up by electricity, as he such displays in Godzilla vs. Kong, and he just grabs a lady. Just picks up a lady and he's all infatuated with her. So they kept some elements of King Kong's personality in the script, but for whatever reason, they didn't adjust those at all when Godzilla swapped in at the last second. But yeah, this is still really entertaining. Even without Mystery Science here, this is like one of the cheesier, entertaining things. Yeah, the human stories are more silly than anything else, which is good because it's just a bunch of like teens and like a thief and they go to this island and everything. It's just kind of silly. It's not just boring politicians and scientists and such. So I personally think it is a hoot. This is Son of Godzilla. It is the first appearance of Manila, Minya, Baby Godzilla, Godzuki, Godzilla Jr., whatever the fuck. I think this is okay. It's another silly one, but just it depends on the movie. But Manila, whatever the hell, doesn't really do it for me. I you know what? Maybe not so okay. Maybe not so okay. There's some funny meme worthy little bits in this, but that's kind of about it. I don't think this is again very controversial at all. But yeah, okay, Minion deserves some portion of respect. but right in the middle, I think, is the appropriate portion. So I'm happy with that. Destroy all monsters. So this is a big one. This is a big one. I don't think is near, no, it's not near perfect. The fact that it takes place, this is like one of the last chronologically up till a certain point, because this movie takes place in 1999. They just jumped forward in 1990X, and the start of it takes a while to get going, but once it happens, and the sheer amount of stinky performers in sweaty rubber suits running around in a big set, the only thing that kind of holds the monster mayhem back in this is because you start to feel bad for the snuff film that starts to occur, starts to roll in front of your eyes, because every single kaiju in this start beating the shit out of King Ghidorah, and you start to feel bad. He's not even super powerful, and they make it really tough, like he's a final boss. They just curb stomp the shit out of him, stomp a mud hole in his ass, and it's kind of sad, actually. But this, again, helped establish the big monster mash to end the series, even though it really, really didn't. And that's a big thing. Destroy All Monsters, just a name that, keeps getting used here and there in the films and games and spin-offs after the fact. So I think it's important in that way. So I think awesome is, it's definitely better than Soke. It's definitely better than... and Son of Godzilla. Next up, we have Godzilla's Revenge. This is the one where the annoying child features prominently and falls into comas. It's unclear. Falls into comas where he dreams about Monster Island and the parallels between the fights that he imagines in his head, where he goes to Monster Island, and him and Minya team up to fight Gabra and a bunch of other stupid shit, and it's a bunch of stock footage. There are some people that are like, oh, this is so cheesy and bad, it's almost great. No, it's not quite there for me. No is still, fuck no is kind of closer, but no, not even. I think so bad it's good is kind of like, for kaiju, for Godzilla kaiju, so bad is good is almost awesome. Or Soke maybe. And these are like the boring ones, and this is like, I don't want to talk about it. Miss me with that shit, And I think Godzilla's Revenge, and I think this has another name as well. I forget. Again, they all have different titles depending on what year and where they're released and such. But yeah, it's not a good time. But it is fun to make fun of it. This is Godzilla versus Hedorah, Hedy, Dynamite Head. Anyway, this was an attempt to make something very different and carry a new message, because nuclear allegories were, I guess, blasé at this time. So this is one about environmental cautionary stories about, a lot of shit was going down in Japan where it was industrializing at like a very rapid rate, and there were lots of like little environmental incidents throughout the country and stuff. So I think this was made in response to that. Yoshinori Banno, big fan of this, where he's like, this is the one Godzilla movie I directed and I'll never let it go. I love Hedorah, but I gotta love a guy that's like, I love the monster that was in my movie specifically. This is so weird and so trippy that it's not entertaining. It's not near perfect, no. But yeah, this is another awesome one just because it's so weird and bizarre, and it, again, doesn't really have those kind of sort of tropes of, again, politicians in boardrooms and scientists just saying, oh no, this is happening, why did I do this? Why do I keep doing it? And Hedorah is hilarious monster. I wish Hedorah would like get a revamp or something. I think they got that one scene in Godzilla Final Wars. Now I can't remember, but I want like a newly designed Hedorah that's like all fucked up and scary and stuff, because it's still a little goofy. But this has Godzilla flying. That's a major thing. Obviously, you don't see that every day. Again, 70s trippiness at its best. Yeah, that's definitely awesome for Hedorah. Godzilla vs. Gigan. This This is another really cheesy and fun one. Now, I know some people are big Gigan stans, and I like Gigan a lot in Final Wars, not so much in their debut. Still a cheesy good time. Yeah, cheesy comes up a lot when you're talking about Godzilla films, his entire back catalog. But yeah, not quite there, but it's okay. It's okay. I've grown to like Gigan a little bit more, but I still really prefer their Final Wars design over their original. And of course, King Ghidorah appears in here slightly as well. I think someone else, Anguirus, I believe. Is this the one where they talk? I think it might be the one where they talk. If this is the one where they talk, cut in a scene right now of them talking, Godzilla and Anguirus.
Something funny going on. You better check. Oh, yeah. Hurry up.
Because of that, yeah, that's okay. That's okay. They should make them talk a lot more. They should always be chattering, all of the kaiju together, like in Zoom meetings and such. So Godzilla versus Megalon, love it. It is near perfect, mostly because of its poster, where not one single second takes place in New York City. But the drop kick, Baby Rider makes it. Megalon, even though being quite silly, not the best antagonist. Gigan appears again, but it's Jet Jaguar. Again, Mystery Science Theater doing a lot of the heavy lifting. It is a near perfect film. I'll watch this any fucking day of the week. I don't care. It is my special little guy. So I'm very confident in putting Godzilla vs. Megalon and near perfect. If you swapped out Megalon for somebody else, I really liked Megalon in that recent short film. His design is fucking wicked in that, so that gave me a bit more respect. But I also hate Megalon because he was so annoying to fight in the PS2, Xbox, GameCube game, so fuck him. This is Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. Really important, I think, overall, in the entire gamut. Just establishing Mecha finally in the traditional form they've come to expect. I love the fact that it starts with is there two Godzillas? Which one do I shoot? And other kaiju being like, this is the Godzilla, Anguirus being, this is the Godzilla I know. He would never cook like this. And then, of course, it's been revealed that it's a giant alien robot underneath. Awesome. And I do love the original Mechagodzilla's design. I like pretty much all the Mechagodzilla designs. There's one I don't like, but we'll get to that. But yeah, this one, I think, I don't love it as much as Godzilla vs. Megalon. So it will remain awesome. So I have weird memories of this one. Terra Mechagodzilla is essentially just a sequel straight up to this one. But I love Titanosaurus a lot, and I don't know why. There is a nostalgia of this movie for sure, and just seeing three giant monsters very clearly and prominently on the box art, and liking Titanosaurus. So, I had that sticking around in A. And for that, I will always respect it and hold it in a certain tier. We're not there yet. But when you actually watch the film, it is on the more conservative end of there's no kaiju fighting. It's just kind of essentially a remake of Gojira, the very first one, where Godzilla just kind of hangs around, smashes some buildings. But I loved his really scary design in this. The special effects work, the miniature work is all good, but I don't think it's quite awesome yet. There's just one other element that's missing there. And I'm not saying necessarily it has to be a giant kaiju, but something. The human drama is not great. It's like one of the worst ones. And I've seen Return of Godzilla, and I've seen Godzilla 1985. I actually prefer Godzilla 1985, if I'm going to be completely honest, just because I love Raymond Burr, and Raymond Burr took that role really seriously, so I like that. I think that evens out to I respect this movie a lot in terms of it relaunching Godzilla, and even though it didn't keep some of the things it established and went back to kaiju fighting very quickly, it's still really important. But in terms of being entertained by the movie, it is a little lacking here and there, so I'm gonna keep that in Soke. Godzilla versus Biollante. So it was the first to really nail that Heisei design because it's distinctly different from the one in Return of Godzilla. Now, when I first saw this film, I was actually quite taken aback. I wasn't really into it. Plant-based enemies are not my favorite, right? It just, what's my favorite boss in Resident Evil games? Not the plant ones, not Plant 42. It's just not that interesting of a villain to me. And when I first watched Biollante in the late 90s, early 2000s, I think I remember getting like a video file of it. I might have waited for it on DVD because it was very hard to get it otherwise, especially living in Canada, that I was a little unimpressed by Biollante as a threat. But then watching it again in the subsequent years and how weird and different its plot is, because one of the original writers or the scenario guy that won a contest or some shit, he loved James Bond stuff, so a lot of secret agents running around. It very much doesn't feel like a Godzilla movie in the start, which is good in the sense that it breaks away, but the special effects work, the suitmation in this is incredible, and I've come to like Biollante a lot, especially in games where you can move her around versus that she's quite stationary in the film. But that and how OP she is in like Godzilla Unleashed has made my respect for Biollante grow tenfold. So I'm going to put this one up at Near Perfect, maybe? Near Perfect. I think I would have had this, if you asked me like 10 years ago, I would have had this in Soke or maybe Awesome. But Near Perfect is there where I really, and I think this is an underrated poster of the Heisei era. It's a lot of green. There's a lot of green. For sure, but I just think it's up there as definitely an underrated one. Maybe not. You know what? I'm gonna put it back down to Awesome. Actually, I might move this back up depending what else we might go through, because as we go into the series even more, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, I'm gonna have some ones that might be making this tier crowded. So I just want to see where everything kind of shakes out, and I might readjust later. Hope you don't mind. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah 2, the second, even though like technically it should be like the third or fourth, but the Heisei era is essentially, a reboot or whatever. This might be Near Perfect. Now, this might be Near Perfect, but it has an asterisk. It has one of the sickest posters of all, right? I have a blanket of this that Lilu is sleeping on right now behind me. If you're a kaiju fan, if you're a fan of tokusatsu in general, you're going to love this thing just because it's so insane. There's time travel, there's robots, there's the tiny cute kaiju, tension between countries, there's cheeky references. It's got everything, but it also still somehow drags a little bit. There's so many explanations, like there's Star Trek Next Generation levels of just try to understand what the hell people are saying with the techno babble. A lot of babble. And when I've shown this to normies, they're like, this is stupid. I want to leave. And I'm like, I get it, but shut up. It is on the longer end. I will say, like, this movie could use a recut to maybe shave some things off, but it is generally insane. Still really, really entertaining to me. And it's just one of those that, like, yeah, just like Godzilla vs. Megalon, I'll watch this any day of the week, but I wouldn't say it is without flaws. So it's not. It's near perfect in terms of entertainment value. Godzilla vs. Mothra, another strong one of the Heisei era. I don't like it as much as King Ghidorah, though, so I'm going to just drop that down to awesome. Another underrated poster. I love how Mothra features very prominently, and Godzilla's kind of secondary. But whenever you have to go through Mothra larva, I check out for a little bit until actual Mothra Prime shows up. Fighting Mothra larva is just a waste of everyone's time to me. I don't care if they're integral to the plot. That fight can only be so interesting. It's just like when the very few games where Mothra larva is playable or that it's computer controlled. It just let me get to the real show, which is Mothra. Let me stop fighting with her babies. It's not that fun. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, even though it should be like 6. I haven't watched this one as much as I should have. I might have watched this, like, again, 5-6 years ago. Another underrated poster, by the way. Yeah, no, a lot of the Heisei era is awesome. There's not like a bad one per se. So I feel confident that's another awesome one. I don't, much like James Rolfe, I don't really love. It's good. The Mechagodzilla design here. It's just he looks a little too kid friendly in this, if that makes any sense. It reminds me of like a silly, like a slightly more serious giant robot monster that you would see in like a Power Rangers episode. He's lacking a little bit of edge that the like kind of 60s inspired, 70s inspired, I should say, Mechagodzilla had, at least to me. But that's a very minor thing. Rodan is, we haven't talked about Rodan very much, but Rodan getting in there, getting some love. So I'm happy for them. But yeah, it's definitely a step above these. So Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla 2, literally Terra Mechagodzilla. It's like, oh, we're not going to count that? It shouldn't have been called 2 then if it's a rebooted thing. Whatever. Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. I like this one that more people tend to do. I think it's because we're starting to get into that era of Heisei movies, and especially if you watch them in a row, you're getting a little tired of the formula. But Space Godzilla is still a cool enemy. I love the crystal design. I don't know if I would call this monster Space Godzilla. That seems like, oh, I'm just fighting a clone. You already have Mechagodzilla, so it seems like a superfluous character. If they redesigned him to just look more like a bipedal dragon dinosaur and just kind of inched him away from Godzilla a little bit, they still kept the crystal and space design and the origin and such, I think I would like the monster a little bit better. In all honesty, Mogra, another big, I shouldn't say big, but another bit player in this film. And of course, Manila, Baby Godzilla, Baby Junior Godzilla, Godzuki, whatever. And it is a cute design. I greatly prefer this to the dark ages of the late 60s, early 70s for Minya, whatever. So Space Godzilla, it's okay. I don't think it's on the level of these, at the very least, but I think I would put it up to awesome if it took a few more risks. And again, and making just a Godzilla clone is not all that risky to me. It's kind of safe. They can reuse a suit, maybe just strap some crystal shoulder pads, and they're good to go. So, that's not doing anything too crazy with the formula. So I think Soke works out. Godzilla versus Destroya. That has to be near perfect for me. For a lot of reasons. The movie is quite different at the start. Feels like, they're paying homage or, lifting some tone and some pacing from American sci-fi movies, late 80s, early 90s at the time. Destroy is an awesome fucking kaiju, an actual real threat. And the fact that Destroya has never come back in a film, or like a Destroya parallel, or like Destroya 2, or something actually directly related to it, it just makes it all that more special. The final fight, especially with Godzilla Jr. and Godzilla melting down, burning Godzilla, all that shit, iconic. This is another one, I could definitely watch anytime it's on. It's a little bit slow in some places. And the fact that Godzilla doesn't really get like the killing blow on Destroya, and there being like a more satisfying like conclusion to that, is a little bit disappointing, but it's minor nitpicks again, which makes it near perfect if anything else. But it's a really nice send off to the Heisei era while still leaving things open. It makes sense, and it's probably some of the better miniature suitmation work in the series. I just remember being really, really excited watching the final fight in the last time I watched this. It was a couple of years ago for sure. So yeah, Godzilla versus Destroya is near perfect. All right, Godzilla 2000. Godzilla 2000. I remember being so hyped to see this, like ginormously hyped. I saw this in the theaters when it had its very limited theater run back in 1990, 2000. It had to be 2000. No, this came out in 1998 in Japan. I forget. Doesn't matter. I went to an arcade that was attached to the theater to like kill some time. I remember playing LA Machine Guns or LA Machine Guns or New York Machine Guns, whatever. Gunplay New York and LA Machine Guns, whatever. I just remember going, oh my god, I'm going to see this like actual new Godzilla, Japanese Godzilla. This will wash the taste out of that in my mouth so much. Oh my god, I can't wait. And it was the dub. The dub is not great for this. Could have read at that time. I was at reading level. Could have read the subs, but that wasn't really a thing back then, barely. This is still a disappointing film for the start of a new trilogy. I like Orga. Don't get me wrong. I like Orga. And that's kind of what I was hinting at for a Space Godzilla. It still has a bit of Godzilla's DNA or whatever, and there's like a small resemblance, but Orga is its own creature. I like Orga quite a bit, but Orga comes way too late in the film, way too late. The main characters, the father and his daughter doing the Godzilla Prevention Network, it's cute, but it's not enough to carry the film when Godzilla isn't on screen. Some of the CG work, the matte shots or CGI shots where the actor playing Godzilla's in a suit and he's put in a background where he's not supposed to be. They look real bad to this day. They look bad back then. So it's rough. I'm not gonna lie, it's rough in a lot of places, but I love the Millennium design. This established like the first real Godzilla in film that had like green skin versus like an ashy gray, and the purple back spikes, dorsal fins. So it did that. That's good, but it's still lacking in terms of kaiju action. Like there's only some in like the last 10 minutes. The lame alien pod that shows up just doesn't do anything. It's supposed to build up tension, but it's kind of boring. I remember coming out of the theater disappointed. Not as disappointed as this, obviously. How could one be? And watching it again, it hasn't gotten any better. I don't think it's gotten terribly worse than that, though. So I think that's more of an for me. I wish it was higher, but them's the breaks. I think Godzilla vs. Megaguirus is a bit better. It's not amazing, it's not awesome. Definitely not near perfect. But I like the computer programmer, nerd kid. I like Megaguirus. Megaguirus is okay. I don't know if I like them a bit more than Orga. I think if Orga was in Godzilla 2000 a bit more than that would be a slam dunk in Orga's favor over Megaguirus, just because Megaguirus is basically just Batra. The body slam is another iconic moment, and the Millennium series doesn't have a ton of iconic moments that live on in infamy. There's that, and it's just a bit formulaic, a little bit more like, well, right here, Godzilla versus Space Godzilla. It doesn't do anything drastically different, and it doesn't like push anything forward. It doesn't reestablish Godzilla, Millennium Godzilla, as like having crazy new powers. Like for the first one, Godzilla 2000, be like, okay, well, let them get their feet wet and let's see something crazier in this one. It doesn't. Aside from the body slam, there's nothing that crazy in this. Still entertaining though. It's not terrible by any stretch of the imagination, so that's why it's okay. Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, Mothra, giant monsters all out attack, but also not allowing Baragon to have their name in the title, or GMK for short. This might be a near perfect for me. I love this movie so much. Just like I was complaining about Megaguirus, Space Godzilla in 2000, this does something radically new with the man that is Godzilla, establishing him as the main villain, a pissed off villain, and having traditionally antagonistic kaiju be the heroes that humanity is rooting for. They got the director of the amazing 90s Gamma trilogy to build something new, and he certainly did. Although I remember hearing about how this had a very different plot, and that was initially proposed by that director, and you had to go back and forth with Toho over and over again to bring you to what you see here. And I think some of the human drama here is, again, like, it takes away from the film, but there's so much kaiju action because Godzilla has to like go through 3.5 because 2 battles are basically combined into 1. But Baragon and then the other 2, having to go back and forth with them. There's a lot of kaiju fights. Godzilla looks awesome. Is one of my favorite designs. This is absolutely near perfect, but it's still not godlike because, yeah, there's some pacing issues. I don't like how humans basically beat Godzilla. Don't like that at all. That shouldn't really happen often, or if not ever. But yeah, absolutely near perfect. Great poster. I wish this Godzilla design would get more play. Like this, I don't think this got like a skin in Godzilla PS4. Really wish that Gigabash would get like a skin pack for their DLC characters. So you just reskin over Heisei Godzilla in that, which I love, don't get me wrong, but I'd love it if you could like just choose Millennium or Monsterverse, obviously this one. Godzilla Cross, I think it's Cross Mechagodzilla or Kiryu. This is my favorite Mechagodzilla design, bar none. The film is fine. The thing with this film is that it goes hand in hand with the next one, Godzilla Cross Mechagodzilla Cross Mothra Tokyo SOS. They really should be like, you could cut these together to be one movie and like, you know, probably cut some scenes for sure. But I think they work as a 2-film thing, like Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 type thing. This is an awesome poster. It's not so awesome that it's no longer illustrated. Like up until this point, all the posters were kind of illustrated, or there was like some sort of version of that. But these are just the suits, like, you know, made up, posed, much like many American films at this time, because we're in the 2000s now. It's still a cool pose. If this was illustrated, I'd like it a lot more, but you know, regardless, this film just starts things off. Like just as it's starting to get really exciting, it kind of ends, and that sort of sucks. But other than that, I think that'll bring it down to it's okay. I think I'll bring it down to it's okay, but we can just Godzilla body slam into Tokyo SOS, which is awesome. The Mothra design is good too, not my favorite, but she has a role to play in this. Poster, not so great, so I'm also critiquing the poster at the same time. That's not what this should be, but I can't help but do it. If you could recut this movie together, keep it like below 3 hours and make that, maybe that happens. Maybe someone's done that and I don't know. But I think that would be a really interesting film. That would be really exciting, depending on how that's edited. I wonder if that exists. It has been a little while since I watched this one, so I have been meaning to watch it again. I really wish the rest of those Godzilla Blu-ray collections, like the one for Showa era, seems like it released like 5-6 years ago, and we're still not even at the Heisei era yet. I hope they get to that, and I hope they can do Millennium. I don't know why it's taken so long, but I know Toho is notorious to work with, so... Godzilla Final Wars. Now, when I did a what happened on this, it was pretty much down the middle, as I know it is, and as how it will always be. This is a divisive Godzilla film because it is so different. Kaiju fights are so quick. There's way more human fights than anything, but it's too entertaining for me to put it any lower. It's definitely not godlike. There are issues. Again, human drama, even though it's more entertaining than most human drama in Godzilla films, it still just drags and drags and drags. Whenever Captain Gordon's not on screen, everyone should be asking, where's Captain? You know, so it's an awesome Godzilla design. It's probably my second favorite of, well, to be fair, that makes it, well, technically there's more than one, but anyway, it's my second favorite next to the GMK version of Godzilla. Much slimmer, much more cat-like. I love that about Final Wars Goji. Awesome, sick poster. Again, I love that. There's also another one that's just as good. It's too entertaining. It's got too much stuff happening all time. That being said, if you have someone that, again, is not into kaiju movies, they might be like, no, I can't. It has a very similar feel to where is it? Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. It's like there's so much shit happening on screen, but it still somehow manages to go on for too long. There's some bits you could clearly get rid of and make for a better film, in all honesty. I think my main criticism is that when Godzilla does appear and fights start, the fights are just over too quickly. They're just too brief for them to be satisfying. And I think cutting the human drama and putting more into those fights would have also helped. So that's why it's in near perfect. And we were denied having the true Gino versus Godzilla fight that Kitamura originally planned to do. Had to cut it short. And I know some people like the definitive just one move, bablam Goldberg booking of Godzilla vs. Zilla, but I still would have rather preferred a full round of combat between the two. But yeah. Godzilla 2014. This is a tough one because up until Michael Cranston's character's arc coming to an end, this is like almost perfect in terms of building up tension and drama and you caring about the characters. One of the biggest blunders in all of Godzilla film history is them deciding to do what they did with him. I know this movie is from 2014, but and there, spoilers shouldn't be a thing, but regardless, I'm still gonna skirt around it. And even then, that was probably really obvious. But yeah, I like Aaron Taylor Johnson a lot as an actor, but I think he's given a shit role in here. Just being serious military guy is just, there has to be more to it than that. I think if he had a serious military friend that he was hanging around with, that would have been fine. But because he's just not got that much interesting things about him and we're with him so much, you know what? When he was hanging around with his dad, that was really interesting and fun. This movie has issues, so I don't even think it's near perfect, but I still think it's awesome. The weight of Godzilla, his presence that he's given, the final scene, the cinematography, the pacing for most, but not all of the film. I think it makes it really, really memorable, and it's certainly a far cry better than that guy. And it's establishing a whole other universe, and an intriguing universe. Not just the film itself, but all the Monarch stuff and how it's hinted at. Now we've gotten a lot of it. Now there's a TV show I still haven't watched. I think I'm fine with this and awesome. I like this a lot when I had watched it originally, and when I watched it again, I had like the Japanese 7-disc Blu-ray version. I came with like a figure or two. I was like nuts about this film for a while. And while I recognize it has issues nowadays, and especially with how they handled certain story elements, how it looks, how it sounds, how it feels is still amazing. It's still different from every other MonsterVerse thing. But we have to then move to Toho going, oh shit, people like Godzilla now. We got to make another one. I think this will be godlike for me. Just because, if the movie had gone on 10, 15 minutes more, Godzilla would have literally become godlike if you know the story about the theories on what Hideaki Anno's treatment of this was going to be. It was like Godzilla was going to become like a concept, an idea, a godlike presence that you couldn't even touch. It was like super awesome and trippy. But it's almost amazing that they ended the movie where it does. Will there ever be a sequel to this? No, I don't think so. I think they didn't get along with Toho management after the completion of this film. I think the only reason Toho was convinced to make this, because it's so different and Godzilla is so strange, is because Bandai Namco said, oh, you mean to tell me the script you guys are pitching to Toho has 4 different versions of Godzilla? Think of the merchandise. And they started printing that merchandise and just going crazy. There's 4 different Godzillas, we can sell so much. And Toho were like, oh, right. Okay, yeah, we'll let them make this. And that's the only reason. Is because the merchandising sales are going to be that good. So I think that's amazing. I think that's godlike. Well, the only reason we're making you do this is because we know there's one aspect of it we can make a lot of money on, even if people don't like it or find it too weird. But yeah, I was so hyped when I saw this. Enjoyed it immensely. I've watched it multiple times. I still don't think it's perfect, actually. Not to say godlike means perfect. It's near perfect, almost, this tier. But those are the names I chose. I still think after Godzilla's big initial beam attack in the last bit of the second act, the movie loses a lot of momentum. It does. It grinds to kind of a halt for a good 20 minutes, 30 minutes maybe. The pacing just feels weird. It just kind of took me aback. I think Kyoko Ann Patterson, terrible actress. She looks gorgeous woman, but her acting is so bad. So bad. Even in Japanese, I think her acting felt bad. I don't even know. But her character is just, she didn't need to be there, really. I'm not. Anyway, anytime anyone speaks English, it's just so fucking cringeworthy. So bad. Aside from that, that's the only thing I can really say about it. It's a movie where it's like there's only Godzilla, but Godzilla is so interesting and so different that you don't need another kaiju in there. What are you supposed to throw at it at that point? It's gonna just blow the ass out of everything, so it doesn't matter. Shin Godzilla, I think it's a very special film, and I don't think they should ever make a sequel to this. He can come back in little cameos and more toys and whatever, that's fine, but like leave this alone. I think much like GMK, you don't need to do anything. Just don't. Just keep it special. So the anime trilogy. So I'm just going to write and say I hate this trilogy with a passion. It is the most soulless, bland, unentertaining things in Godzilla history. I mind very little enjoyment on watching these. I know some people do like them, but the vast majority don't. It's just not what I want or find entertaining about kaiju, tokusatsu, special effects things at all. Anyway, let's start with Monster Planet or whatever the fuck it's called. It's just a no. I think I hated this one more because I hate the Mecha Godzilla design in it, and I remember being even more bored with this one. I do like this King Ghidorah. Yeah, I'll watch, but I'd rather not. I like this King Ghidorah. I don't mind Godzilla Earth. I was before the anime movies came out, I got the figure, the SH figure arts of Godzilla Earth or whatever, Cilius or whatever the first version is called that shows up in the films. And I like that design from a few different aspects. It's not my favorite at all, but there's something about it. I'm like, yeah, no, this is interesting. But I like this gigantic world-devouring energy dragon that's like 1 billion miles long. That's cool for Ghidorah. I'm happy that Ghidorah gets that. But yeah, I'll watch this, but I'd rather not. This is a complete misfire for me, all three of these. I appreciated that it was made. I appreciate something like, well, let's do something like this instead. Let's make a trilogy. I almost think that as movies, these are poor, but maybe if they're cut into a series, the pacing might have been better. It might have been better. I'm not sure. But I think as movies and the way that they're cut and the way that they end is all poor. It just deflates me whenever I think about this because there was potential here. The idea had potential. And of course, we're not going into Godzilla's singular point because it's not a film, but suffice it to say, I also did not like that at all, mainly because there's like 5 minutes of kaiju action in like 10 or 12 episodes, whatever it was. It was a struggle to get through. I do like the animation, though, of the humans. The CGI of all the kaiju were terrible, and I don't like many of the designs. Jet Jaguar is cool in it, though. In case Liam's watching, I like that version of Jet Jaguar. He's fun, okay? Godzilla, King of the Monsters, 2019. This is probably going to be the most difficult one, because I love the director, Michael Dougherty. I love Trick or Treat. Enjoyed Krampus. He's a Godzilla mega fan. He tried his absolute best with this, and I think it largely succeeds, but I think I still put it on the same level as Godzilla 2014. It should have been an easy dunk. It should have been near perfect. But every time I watch it, and I watched it a good 4 or 5 times, I think, twice in the theaters, twice at home. The designs of all the kaiju, amazing. Some of the humor, good. Understated humor that I liked. The Monarch world building, great. Dr. Serizawa, amazing. Everything to do with Millie Bobby Brown's family, terrible. Just, I don't care. And they're shoving it in my face. And these actors are trying, but the story, the script, I don't know. But anything involving them, I'm just bored to tears with it. And I shouldn't be, because all the elements are kind of there. I guess because it shoves it in your face so much. But the kaiju action is so good. Mothra, I love Mothra in this. Love King Ghidorah in this. They make him into a massive threat. Burning Godzilla comes back. There's so much good here, but it just doesn't work. I feel like there was another version of this movie that could have worked. Like, take all mostly the same elements and the exact same kaiju fights that you had, and it would have been near perfect. It might have been be godlike. Should have been an easy dunk, but I'm so glad that the MonsterVerse still continued, because I was worried when this didn't make nearly as much money as 2014 did. I was like, oh god, oh fuck. So fortunately, it's doing great. It's doing fantastic even. But yeah, it is definitely not Soke. But this should absolutely be higher. But it is on the same level. Like everything this does right, this kind of doesn't do as... It's a push and pull between the two. Next up, we have Godzilla versus Kong. This is weird too, because this is immensely entertaining. This probably has the best human drama, and not to say it's great, but it does not overstay its welcome. It's quick. You move around to two different groups, a Kong group and a Godzilla group, so you don't get tired of either. It's actually brilliant in that way. It's Godzilla's motivations and some of the Dr. Serizawa stuff, where his son is in the movie, but he's barely acknowledged, and it seems like they actually shot a lot more that might have made that intriguing, but it just kind of feels like nothing. A little bit more, like an extra 5 minutes to explain exactly what's happening. I like the Mecha Godzilla design in this quite a bit. I know some people are like, I don't like it. I maybe don't like it as much as Kiryu, but I still think it's cool. It's what an American Mecha Godzilla would look like, if that makes any sense. Very, very entertaining in all the kaiju fights. And all the Kong is amazing. Like, I like this Kong a lot. Even more so than in Kong Skull Island or whatever. This is one of the most perfect popcorn, like even normies that aren't into this shit will find this entertaining, I feel. I almost feel like I need another tier just for this, because it's not near perfect. But I like, you know what? Godzilla versus Kong. There you go. Oh shit, fuck that up. There you go. There's a Godzilla versus Kong tier. I think I like that, because it's definitely not... I should do this more often with tier lists where I'm really not sure and I don't feel like it goes here, I don't feel it goes there. I should on the fly decide it is time to make a new tier. I think this stands by itself as this weird, immensely entertaining, but still deeply flawed, in a couple of really specific to me respects. I should watch this again. I would love a recut version. I like Adam Wingard a lot. He's made some mistakes. He's made some mistakes. But his filmography still is quite good. If you guys have not seen it, please watch the movie The Guest. It is so badass. It's one of my favorite thriller movies ever. Plus the main dude in that movie is hot as shit. It's crazy. Anyway, I am still very much looking forward to Godzilla Cross Kong, the new world order. Because I'm excited to see what that is. That seems to be it's changing up the formula even more with a very worthy rival to Kong, as well as there's supposed to be one with Godzilla. I'm very excited that the movie is coming out in a couple months, maybe 6 months or more. I forget now, maybe March, April, and we still know very little about it. But which also is weird, because you should start promoting your film now. I think maybe by the time you guys see this video, there might be a trailer out for it yet. But regardless, I think I'm happy with that for now. But we still have one more final film to go. Alrighty, so with all that out of the way, let us return to Godzilla -1. So I just saw this last night, so I have had a chance to sleep on it a little bit, and I really enjoyed this overall, right? But the question is, how much did I enjoy it overall? So we're just going to leave it in Godzilla versus Kong. That's obviously not where it goes. So I was pretty jazzed, right? And I didn't really know a lot about the story, obviously. I didn't watch any spoilery reviews. I just knew it took place right after World War II in Japan. Japan is brought down to the brink of barely even functioning anymore. And then Godzilla on top of that shit. And that's all I kind of really needed to know. I knew it followed the MC that's like in the military, but other than that, I was going in pretty blind. One thing going into it is that I kind of wanted more of a story than in Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla, there's not much of a story in terms of like characters having motivations and like you kind of putting your headspace in the same as them. It's just they're all politicians and government workers and scientists, and they're all just, let's just stop this threat. So I kind of wanted something different than that. And I did get that in Godzilla -1. And one thing you might have kind of noticed throughout this tier list is that I usually talk shit about the human drama in pretty much all of them, I think. And this far and exceeds any of the human drama non-Godzilla scenes, bar none. Easily over Shin Godzilla in that way. But that there's another element to that, is that this particular Godzilla, while he's vicious and pretty scary, everything that he does in this movie is not something that you haven't seen before. His atomic breath is a little different. It's pretty cool visually. But this Godzilla, it's not as fresh and as crazy and as like, what the hell is going to happen next, versus the one that's in Shin Godzilla. It was always revolving around him and what he was going to do next and the government's response to it. And Godzilla -1 is not really about that. It is about the human drama, which I liked, don't get me wrong. It was a small but not insignificant cast of characters. You can empathize with them and all this stuff. And I think right now it is near perfect, but I don't think it tops Shin Godzilla in the sense that this is completely different in terms of the creature and you don't know what's going to happen next. There is one scene that's kind of like that kind of early on, but it doesn't outdo that. Now, I think this has pluses and minuses, where I don't think they could have topped this with a sequel or something really similar that has biting political satire and commentary and another weird ass Godzilla. Like, I don't think you could have followed that up. So by doing something very different and also echoing to the past was the right choice. But at the same time, it was not as unexpected for me. I was like, yeah, that's kind of what I thought was going to happen. Very good ending, though. Obviously not going to go into spoilers, but very satisfying ending. And it does lead itself open to a sequel, much more than Shin Godzilla. I think the Godzilla -1 might be elevated even further if there is a sequel, a trilogy even, by the same filmmaker, because he's very good and knows what he's doing with Godzilla and sci-fi action motion pictures. If Godzilla -1 spins into a whole 3-part trilogy, I'm like, that could be like the greatest trilogy in Godzilla history, the greatest arc, you could say. I actually really want that, much more than like a sequel to Shin Godzilla. I already kind of said, Shin Godzilla stands on its own, and I think it's unique and special that way. But if this could be expanded with a bit more Godzilla lore into what exactly his deal is, because you don't get a lot. You get even less than in Shin Godzilla. He's more of a mysterious creature in this than he is here. It's like, what? He's just okay. That's kind of cool. But at the same time, I don't think there's enough time for scientists or anybody else in the movie to explain that. It's already, got enough stuff going on as is with the human drama. But if this gets expanded upon with more entries, that would be tight. That would be hard to beat. Much more so than this trilogy down here, which is so long, has so much explanation, but at the same time tells you really nothing, and nothing that you care about, at least. So yeah, Godzilla -1, near perfect. I could have used a bit more of an origin story of Godzilla. I could use one more scene with Godzilla, maybe at nighttime in the middle, where the military or private citizens might have tried something else to see if they can defeat him. That doesn't work, and then they come up with their ultimate plan. I think that would have added a bit more, and that's not because Godzilla's not featured prominently. He's spaced out very well, where you're never too far away from a Godzilla scene or the threat of him, or whatever it is. It's not an issue of that. It's just like, I just wanted a bit more. I want to be even more interested in this particular version of the character. If you want a comparison of how he is, it's a mix of this Godzilla from Gojira and then GMK Godzilla, which is a really cool mix. It's a heel Godzilla, definitively. There's no way I think they could spin this particular version of Godzuki into like a hero. If they even do more entries or sequels in this universe, there's no way. You cannot redeem this Godzilla after what he does. So I think that sums up my spoilery free feelings on Godzilla -1. I'm very happy with it. I've only seen it the one time. Maybe I'll watch more. Maybe if I can get some special features in a future Blu-ray or whatever it is, I can appreciate a bit more. Maybe an art book that can go into more of the inside stuff, because I have the giant art book for Shin Godzilla and I learned a lot about it, and that kind of made me appreciate it even more. So maybe that Godzilla -1 needs that, and maybe it could be on the same level as Godlike, but just because it's slightly less new and fresh than Shin Godzilla, I think I'm happy with Near Perfect right now. When Godzilla Cross Kong, the New World Order comes out, this trailer just dropped in the middle of me recording this video, essentially. I might re-examine where Godzilla -1, I'll watch it probably at least one more time when that comes out in March or April. So maybe we can do a re-examination there and see how I feel. See if like my feelings have changed there. But that is my definitive Rankzilla list. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry for the slight technical issues in between this. I had to record this at 2 different times, obviously, but let me know what you think. Let me know if you like more kaiju tier lists like this or anything in that vein, and I'd be happy to do that for you. We're living in the best timeline, folks. We're living in the best timeline. Giant monsters and kaiju. Can we just get a new Pacific Rim made by Guillermo del Toro and put Kong and Godzilla? Can we get that, please? I'm begging you.
1, 2, 3, 4, turn the beat back.